U.S. auto buyers will, as you might expect, bear the impact of price increases imposed by President Donald Trump's tariff war. That's according to a report from consultant AlixPartners. Let's bring in Mark Wakefield, Global Automotive Market Lead at AlixPartners. Thanks very much. You've been looking at retail prices of U.S. autos. Of course, they've soared in recent years, as they have around the world, auto prices. You think there's going to be an increase of almost $2,000 US, and it'll be mostly borne by consumers?
Yes, we have about 80% of it being borne by consumers, more so on the premium vehicles, German vehicles, for example, and less so on the volume-based vehicles into 2026. So 1,750 overall on average, and then 20% of it being borne by the automakers. Now, it is important to know thatलो not necessarily the headline price. It could be a withdrawal of incentives and other things that is less visible to the consumer.
It's always a little mystical, isn't it, auto pricing? They like to keep it confusing. Now, but interestingly, you don't think this is going to go on forever. You do think there'll be progress on reducing these tariffs?
That is actually with the assumed progress.
Oh, I see.
So it would be more than double that at today's rate. Yes, that's with an assumed landing spot within a year of a much lower tax rate, but one that puts basically the pressure to bring assembly of vehicles into the United States and advantages the vehicles made in the United States, but gives a lower tariff rate to parts coming in to those plants.
Oh, I see. But your prediction that you do predict that there'll be a hit to sales, but I think you're projecting that it'll be less than some other experts think.
It is less than some other experts. It's still about 1 million vehicles over the next 3 years versus without the tariffs, because the affordability is just getting worse and worse. You used to have 5 years ago, maybe about 10% of the buyers were at the bottom 40% of income. We'll have virtually none in 3 years in the bottom 40, buying a new car in the bottom 40% of the income brackets.
That's interesting. So people on lower incomes in America will be priced out of the auto market?
Yes, forced to buy used cars that will be the price of new cars.
Right. You have some thoughts as well on electric vehicles. You reckon they're going to take a major hit, the sales, with the removal of incentives in the U.S.?
Yes, we believe that most of what's the Senate bill now will be going forward. So as in the consumer incentives will be taken off. And with the various things taken off, some states will probably come in and bring new incentives in, but it won't come anywhere near to making up for it. So we have about a 45% reduction in our 2030 forecast for battery electric vehicles, bringing it down to 17% of the market.
So you had thought, by the end of this decade, you guys had estimated roughly a third, almost a third of U.S. auto sales would be EVs, and you're now bringing that down to less than 20%.
Yes, that's right.
So will America be a major laggard in terms of EV auto market share?
Yes, it'll be a standout laggard compared to China, which is already at 50%, and Europe that will continue on the path. So a very different bifurcated market.
Is that partly a cultural thing? Americans just love their gasoline cars, or is it pure economics? I know it's hard to measure these things.
It's economics. It's sunk cost. It's also, China didn't have the infrastructure of gas vehicles that it had to replace as much. So it's sort of a leapfrog strategy and industrial policy of China to push it. But it's there's nothing inherent about the U.S. that would say that it couldn't be done. But the protection right now for the ICE vehicles of not allowing Chinese vehicles in through something called ICTS, the connected vehicle restrictions, as well as the 100% tariff on electric vehicles from China, that's preventing cheaper vehicles coming in that would increase dramatically the take rate of electric vehicles if that was allowed.
I mean, I know this is a very broad question, but do you think America's making a mistake there, cutting itself off from the world EV industry?
In the EVs, I think what an auto industry, like many highly capital intensive industries, need is consistency. And so the whipsawing of the IRA to this regime, I think it's more the changes that are problematic from an industry profitability and jobs perspective than the choice of push electric vehicles or not. Electric vehicles, most around the world believe are eventually the future, especially as cost reductions come down in battery electric powertrains. When you get to a solid state battery, for example, it's generally just going to be a better vehicle, but that's still many years out.
We'd better leave it there, Mark, but we've only got about 20 seconds. What about yourself? Have you bought an electric vehicle or a hybrid, if you don't mind me asking?
I have. I've had 4. My first one was in 2013.
Oh.
I've had diesels as well. And they're great because once you get out of one and you get back into normal gas vehicle, it almost feels there's a bit of a I'm driving a tractor moment as it shakes a bit for you.